Yeah, you read it in the title. How we made 135K for our clients with only one webinar. First of all, some proof. I noticed a lot of bullshit in this whole space. So this is basically the sales tracker sheet that we have. As you can see, cash collected around 135K and total revenue 167K, right? So proof up front. And in this video, we're going to examine the exact four phases that we used for a successful webinar. So first of all, the launch, the show up sequence, the presentation, and the follow-ups. Yeah, it was a mainly cold webinar. We were spending around 16 to 17K on ads, and you're going to learn everything. How we basically managed to have a show up rate of around 40% for a merely cold webinar with a more skeptical audience, and how our emails, for example, on average got the 70% open rate and the 60% open rate, right? We're going to talk about everything today. So if you're selling a high ticket offer, if you're a coach, if you're in the infoproduct space, if you're an agency owner, whatever, and if you're curious about webinars, want to get into it and learn how to do it the right way, this video is for you. We've got the coffee ready. Get yourself a drink. This will be a no-code video, and we're going to examine the exact four phases that we used to make this happen. My business partner and me, wonderful guy, right? And yeah, first of all, why should you even run a webinar? Well, I don't know if you know it, but there's a guy called Alex Hormozy who's made around 105 million with a live event for his last book launch, right? And sold over 3 million copies with a webinar, basically, right? It was more a challenge based funnel, but basically a webinar over various days. And the guy who's written the webinar for him, I don't know if you know him, Jason Flatian. This book is over there behind me. You can see it. Has generated over 250 million with webinars. Another pretty famous, yeah, let's say figure or influencer in the online info product space, Shelby Sapp, is making around 5 million per month with webinars she's running. She's running cold mainly and evergreen webinars daily and kind of live webinars weekly, if I'm not mistaken. I've recorded a video about this on this channel earlier. So why do webinars work that well? Well, first of all, with a webinar, we're winning back all the leads who didn't close in the past. So basically, if you have leads in your main email list, if you have leads laying around reading all your stuff, but they never book a call because you can't just convince them with a 10 to 15 minute pre-recorded VSL, whatever. A live event is the perfect way to establish more trust and get those leads who are still on the fence, who are watching your stuff, reactivate them and get them back on the flow, right? So you're re-engaging leads who weren't sold by the VSL. Warm them. You also warm up and nurture your audience. This is also a pretty important step for webinars, which most people actually forget. A webinar isn't just the book calls and the cash you make with it. It's the long-term benefits that you get. So basically, the whole nurturing, the whole effect and trust building of a live event will always transmit to your VSL funnel or to all the other stuff that you're selling. If you have a low ticket funnel, whatever, right, you will only have positive effects because you're taking yourself the time to sit down 90 minutes and do a live call, right? So you get a conversion boost for future events as well. Well, next thing, why do cold webinars work that well? As you already know, the webinar that we've run and we're going to get into right now was mainly cold. Well, because think about it. If a lead is completely cold, a live event is the best way to establish trust. It's like a one-to-many sales call. And FAQs plus interactive parts make the leads feel understood and heard. If someone doesn't know you, a pre-recorded VSL or just a simple headline and the checkout page will make it quite difficult to convince them to buy your stuff. That's why webinars are extremely efficient for cold audiences. And if you can crack the code on cold webinars, you really have like kind of the secret formula to scale, to be honest. because you can do that all and all and all and over again. Warm webinars are much easier, to be honest. We just run a webinar, one webinar yesterday, and had around a 60% show up rate. So without even having SMS, I think so. It's quite easy. But cold webinars are just the thing you're going to learn in this exact video, and this is basically the stuff that you want to learn to sell high tech sustainably. Well, again, some benefits: you get more qualified calls with a 90-minute session. You deliver a lot of high value upfront. A live event builds trust, converts cold leads, establishes much more trust than a pre-recorded VSL, and also creates urgency and FOMO because it's a live event. You can frame it like a Black Friday webinar, a Christmas special, Easter special, whatever, right? And there's just this touch of urgency and FOMO, which we as humans are pretty prone to, that you can just not create with a pre-recorded VSL, right? I'm shooting a lot against VSL that's in this video. Well, let's talk about the 4 phases now. First of all, we have the launch, then we have the show up, the presentation, the hard, the spicy stuff, to be honest, and the follow-up sequence where we're gonna squeeze out the entire juice, right? Well, let's talk about the launch first. Why is the launch so important? Because basically the launch is the highest leverage that you have for your webinar. If your launch sucks, you can have the best presentation that you want. You can have the best show up sequence. You can have the best follow up sequence and the hungriest sales team. You won't make any money because you have no one watching your webinar, right? And this is why we first of all need to get enough registrants. That's the highest lever we can pull. So they're basically, the first thing I want you to understand are the 5 levels of awareness. There are unaware people, problem aware people, solution aware people, product aware people, and most aware people. If we're targeting cold, we're mainly on the unaware to problem aware part. These are people who don't know that much about what you're actually selling, what the problem is. They're just looking like kind of for an opportunity, right? They have the general targets, but they are not that aware and they are not that much in market, right? And this is the biggest thing you need to understand when targeting your when designing launch sequences, because you're going to have a different pre-webinar messaging for warm traffic and for cold traffic, simply because they're on a different awareness level, right? For warm traffic, you're generally dealing more with a solution aware and product aware audience. And that's why you want to tailor your messaging in that way. This is the first thing you need to understand. We do a lot of market research before we have our AI programs. We're using Manus. If you're using Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini AI, you're probably still living in 2024. Manus is just, it's the only AI model where you're actually paying for performance, and which is browsing through the entire web. So I would highly recommend using Manus if you've got some money to invest. It's not that expensive, right? And we're doing a lot of research with AI models first to find out who are we talking to, what are the competitors in the market, who's our ICP, right? We put in the sales call recordings, everything, the transcripts, everything that we have, basically, right? Now, let's go first to the warm traffic, where we're talking more to the solution aware and product aware people, right? So first of all, for this exact offer, where we made around 135K in cash collected with, we had YouTube, Instagram, and email as the main traffic sources. On YouTube, we weren't that involved, to be honest, but what you normally want to do are 2 to 3 long form content pieces in the launch phase. The launch phase is normally around, we did it with 6 days out, which was quite, a bit tight on time. Well, normally we'd recommend around doing it 10 days out, so you have enough time and you're not too far out that people just don't care about it again and get too cold. So around, do it like 7-8 days out is perfect, actually. Well, first of all, we have 2 to 3 long form content pieces, preferably 40 minutes long, that we want to upload on their YouTube channels. And the topic should generally be personal story building, authenticity, trust, relatability. Also, student interviews are key, where you generally focus on transformation, on limiting beliefs, objections, pain points they overcame. And you can also upload educational pieces like a 40-minute full XYZ course, whatever you're talking about, or one video about one pillar of the mechanism that we're going to teach in the webinar. You're going to talk about this in phase number 3, by the way. Yeah. All right. Then you're going to put 2 to 3 short CTAs, one early CTA, one midterm CTA, and one at the end of the video. And this is basically how you're doing it. Nothing special, nothing magical. Quite easy. The CTA could be something like, yeah, if you want to learn the exact 5-phase system that I'm using to scale my brand to $1 million a month, you should, we're hosting a free live masterclass on Sunday. Make sure you register. It's completely free, and you got our profitable product playbook for free. No strings attached, right? Well, let's get to the Instagram part. For the Instagram, the traffic wasn't that big, right? As I said, we were mainly relying on ads, but we still wanted to squeeze out everything we had from the warm traffic as well, because generally warm leads convert better, right? Because they're already nurtured. Well, we were designing a 7-day launch sequence on Instagram. This is the exact story sequence copy that we used. So basically, story 1 was kind of the announcement story. We had various stories, and story sequence 1 was the announcement, where we were talking about that we're hosting a live masterclass. We're creating a lot of urgency. And let me just make this a bit smaller here. Yeah. And basically, at the end, we were CTAing them to the word live to sign up. All right. So this is basically just the framing. You're talking about the masterclass. You're talking about a bit why it matters that much, some personal results, some student proof that we put in there. We're just going to talk about the design in a second. Then the next story sequence was lead magnet focus. This is the general way that we do our launches. So we're talking about why does the lead magnet matter? Because, for example, in this case, it was something like a product list. Because most people fail even before they get suppliers. It was an e-commerce offer, by the way. And yeah, this is basically just a lead magnet focused story sequence. We were focusing on the lead magnet that they're getting completely for free. We're putting in images, like everything they basically need, why the lead magnet matters, and reframing it as something like a free gift. So we want to get the people in there with our lead magnet. We're going to talk about lead magnet and lead magnet AI design in a second here below. All right. Okay. The next Instagram story sequence was student proof, where we basically were telling a student story, some wins, how much they made. We were breaking limiting beliefs, objections. I don't want to get too deep into the copy right now. And then I like this one a lot. This is basically the old versus the new way. So the old way of building a brand and the new way of building a brand, basically, right? You can also do this with the design. You kind of have a grayish design for the old way, and kind of a let's say, bright design for the new way of doing things. And this is just different ways, different marketing angles, how we're trying to convince leads to DM us the word live, which will trigger our automation, right? Well, and then obviously we just had around 5 story sequences there. Normally we're doing 7, but their Instagram wasn't that big, so we didn't care, to be honest. Well, the next story sequence is the live story sequence, where we're basically just hammering again some urgency. This is on the day of the webinar, all right? Where we're hammering them again. We're going live today in 2 hours. Reply now. This is literally your last chance. We're never going to do this again. Don't miss this urgency, this opportunity. Okay. So as you can see over there, this is the general Instagram story sequence flow that we follow. First of all, the big announcement, then including a lot of testimonials. Don't talk, show, like in terms of testimonials, lead magnets, right? Then we have another story sequence about personal story transformation. I went from point A to point B using C despite of XYZ. C is your unique mechanism. XYZ are the objections and limiting beliefs. And then we have student proof section. Again, based on the pain points and future pacing for the ideal customer, right? And we have educational content parts, story sequences, lead magnet focused. Example could be 90% of beginners fail because they don't pick a good niche, they don't have a good product, they don't do market research, whatever, right? And the lead magnet solves this exact problem. That's why it's so valuable. Then the old versus new way. Oh, we also do a Q&A, by the way. This is something pretty nice. We say something like, yeah, we got a lot of DMs. We're going to answer the most common objections. And this is only objection handling and then the going live sequence. This is, for example, an Instagram story sequence we were designing for an other offer where we had a webinar yesterday. This is how it could look like. Yeah. Okay. We can get into this on another video. Then this exact Instagram story sequence triggers our ManyChat automation, where we basically, they DMing us the word on our story, live DM message, on commenting on a post or on our reel or on a post. We're marking the conversation as open. And as you can see, we have quite strong click-through rates, right? We're always doing it with 2 steps. And then we're sending them the link with the UTM source code over there. You should use UTMs if you want to have a clear picture about the data, where the leads are coming from, what is the main source to focus on. So do at least UTM source and probably also UTM medium. All right. I'm going to talk about right now how to integrate this into your web page if you're using Lovable, for example. And then we also had the email sequences. We were sending basically launch emails to the main list that we had. And the problem there, and what we actually see with a lot of different offers, is that most people aren't using their main list. If you're a coach selling high ticket, you should send emails at least, I don't know, like twice a week, right? Or 3 emails a week to your newsletter. Your email list is an immense asset. And I'm saying this as a guy who doesn't read emails at all. Okay. So if you're selling a high ticket program, please cultivate that newsletter, get yourself a copywriter for $400 a month or whatever, right? And let him write, I don't know, like 8 emails, or use Claude AI or whatever. It's not that difficult, guys, but you need to have continuous nurturing, and then launching a webinar is extremely efficient. For example, for these guys, they weren't sending any nurture emails at all, unfortunately. So we had to put in some pre-nurture emails because we didn't want to start directly with a pitch. This would be a bit weird. So we did some nurture emails, some personal stories, right? This was just a personal story about the transformation. Then over there we had some more student win. This was just a student win, how much he made basically. At the beginning he made a lot of mistakes, as you as well, for example, right? And then we were transitioning after some mails to the announcement emails. And first of all, we were mentioning the whole opportunity. So selling them up on the opportunity. Why is e-commerce booming that much right now? And how can we combine it with AI, for example, in this exact space? And why are we even hosting this masterclass, right? This is the big announcement where we're creating urgency, FOMO. I think the headline for this was, the subject line was something like, something big is happening on Sunday or stuff like that, right? And on the other emails, they're basically just nurturing with a CTA at the end, because we don't want to spam that main list too hard. And we've tried it also with shorter emails. These are, by the way, not all the emails we used, but to be honest, longer emails work better. You get a better open rate. People think they not continuously sold to us when you put a CTA, for example, here, right? That's why we like nurturing actual value that we're providing here about the transformation, about objection handling, about educational content, right? And then we CTA them to register. We also use a lot of images, for example, of the lead magnet, with a lead magnet focused email. Another one focused on the main registration page, where we show the page, the agenda, what the webinar is going to be about, and again, future pacing, breaking limiting beliefs, and so on. And then last but not least, we're sending the actual reminder emails and the webinar link to the main list at the exact time of the webinar. And this is basically the warm traffic side of things. Depending on the size and of your audience, you could obviously specialize more on there. But we were, as we said, actually now we're getting to the spicy stuff, to the cold traffic and to the ads that we were running, where we were getting most of the registrants from. I think like at least 90 to 95% probably from that. Well, these are some example ads that we were running, and we had at least 11 creatives. We were mainly just running actually talking head video ads. So right now we're getting more into static ads. If you want to have a video on that too, just let me know in the comments. But we were just running around 11 talking head ads here and testing a lot of angles. This is really something we discovered. Make it easy. Like, make it really easy. Like, have 11 angles, go with the winning angles, change the CTA. If you already have ads that work well, don't try to discover a completely new angle. Use what's already working. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, right? And we were using Facebook's Meta's broad targeting, and also optimizing for an order bump. We're going to get into this a bit later, but basically we were optimizing for the conversion event purchase mainly, where we had the pixel on the thank you confirmation page, because we had something like an order bump, a low ticket that we were selling as kind of like a VIP pass, right? Because we wanted to liquidate some of the ad spend and condition the pixel for higher quality leads. We're actually buying something instead of just registering, right? Okay. So these were basically the main strategy that we had. We had at least 11 creatives, and here is the main ad copy of the angles that we used. As you can see over there, we have different hooks that we tested with the body. So we really had a lot of creative testing, and this is the most important thing if you're running ads. Do a lot of angles, go with the winners, find out why they're working that well, and then do more of that shit, right? Over here, for example, we noticed that our ads were performing quite well if we were actually calling out the ideal customers. So in this case, if you've got around 10K to invest, log in. We've prepared a masterclass November 26th, right? And a high ROI angle also, like how much could you make of an investment of $5,000 could turn into 10K a month. Then we had another January objection crusher. We know that you're waiting to get started in New Year, but here's why you shouldn't, and here's why you should take action right now. Okay. Some more angles. We won't get that deep into that. If you want, we can make like a completely new video on how to design, how to write compelling ad copy. And yeah, basically we are focusing on the time freedom angle, on failed attempts angle, so you already failed with other business models. On the demand angle, right now, this is the biggest opportunity and you should get in right now. The anti-guru angle, so we are not something like a course seller. We've actually got burned ourselves in the past, stuff like that. Cost of inaction, why it's time to act right now. The time constraint, dream versus pain angle. So we went from point A to point B using Z, and using Z is exactly what we're going to teach you in the webinar, right? Proof of concept angle with a personal story and some more student proof, and also the founder angle. This is basically the main ad angles we're using. Okay, and then we were sending this traffic, so the warm and the cold traffic, with the right UTM parameters, I can't emphasize it enough, to our main landing page. And this is basically the landing page that we used. We've now updated our design a bit, made it even better in terms of the conversion. But here's why our landing page looked that way. Well, first of all, we've got the branding over there. Then we've got a timer, which is ticking down with limited spots to create urgency. We've got a headline, which is normally, you need to know how to write compelling copy If you don't know how to write copy, this is the first thing you should focus on. But what we generally recommend is kind of discover how to build a six-figure business, discover how everyday people can build a six-figure business using our whatever system or unique system, right? Discover how X can do Y using Z. And then we have the subheadline without the pain points, without CDE. This headline was, for example, without a warehouse or burning money on ads, right? Easing the pain. Then we had a webhook integration here. So basically, we're just integrating this. Our Lovable, our landing pages are hosted. Everything is hosted on Lovable. Lovable is just such a nice tool for designing landing pages, and it looks sexy as hell. Like Lovable is really my business partner and me. We're enjoying it completely. We can recommend everyone to do it on Lovable. It's such a great tool and so easy to design nice looking landing pages if you know how to use it the right way. If you want to know how we're doing it, actually, let me know in the comments, by the way. And then we had a lot of social proof. We had the agenda, for example, with the unique mechanisms, and a Meet Your Host section. So basically, the Meet Your Host section was mainly some more proof of concept about the builders, what they did, why they should listen to them, stuff like that. And very, very important, we have our lead magnet. And this is, for example, a pretty nice image, as you can see over there, completely generated with AI in 2 minutes. If you want the exact prompt we're using, let us know. And the lead magnet should actually always kind of solve a main pain point. So this could be niches, this could be products, this could be our A to Z roadmap. It should be pillar focused. So if you're talking about, for example, in our webinar, we were talking about product selection. Well, then we had a 30 product list as the lead magnet because we wanted to attract people and we want to be continuous in our messaging. It should have a nice premium looking design and be actually valuable. This is, for example, a lead magnet that we've designed for another offer. And I don't know if you know it, this is completely generated by AI. Like I did this with Manos, for example, and it's so easy, and the stuff that's written in there is actually important, right? So this is like normally 30 slides long, and I'm going to upload a video on my Instagram channel. Make sure to check it out, and a link is in the description on how to actually generate compelling, sexy lead magnets in a matter of minutes using Manos AI. By the way, I'm not getting paid from them, unfortunately. So their lead magnet is so important because it attracts even more leads, as it's obvious, kind of, yeah, makes sense, right? It's a lead magnet. And also, it's kind of a sign of reciprocity during the whole launch. They've already received a free gift from us, so they're more willing to give something back to us. This is a human bias. It's pretty deep anchored in our psychology, right? And yeah, then we've got some more student interviews, long form content, quite a lot, and more student wins. And always the CTA in there below, get the free ticket, and so on. This was the main structure of a landing page. It did convert quite well. We did even more optimizations to it and just looked how we could optimize it even more. And then we had the order bump, which was basically the upgrade you pass after they registered. They got sent to our confirmation page with a pop-up where we basically pitch them our low ticket offer. Everything is, again, AI generated. If you want to know how to do this, it's not that hard, but you need some good prompts, right? And with Nano Banana 2, it's getting even more easier. So this is basically where they were entered into a raffle. They had a group call, another masterclass. It was a pretty strong offer. We were selling it for $27. And yeah, this was basically to liquidate ad spend, to condition the pixel, optimize for purchase. And that way we wanted to condition the pixel to learn more about our ICP and attract a higher quality of leads. What should have worked out quite well, because as I said earlier, we were selling a lot of high ticket offers, right? 8K, 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 9K, nearly 10K over there, right? So a pretty high quality of leads. Well, so much to our launch phase. This was the exact way how we've brought our leads from seeing our ads or seeing our email or seeing our Instagram story sequence, and basically got them to register for our webinar. Now we're getting to phase number two. So once we've got our leads registered, the next problem is the show up. And a lot of webinars are struggling with pretty low show up rates, and especially cold webinars. Because leads maybe just opted in to get your lead magnet, or they just opted in for fun or whatever, but it doesn't mean they will actually show up. Okay. So if you think you can just simply launch a webinar and don't have any show up sequence or just a webinar jam reminder emails or whatever you have, this won't be enough, to be honest. And that's what we specialize in, the show up sequence. We've got a 5-step system, including our G. Jeremy Haynes. How we, for example, got around 700 live attendees, so around a 40% show up rate, 38.56% show up rates for a completely cold audience, which is quite fine, right? Well, first of all, the first step of the show up sequence starts with our thank you page. After they either bought the VIP pass or not, they get sent to our thank you page where we have a 3 to 4 minute thank you VSL, where you're basically congratulating them on their behavior, so on the action that they took, and where we're telling them exactly already to click the button below to add the event to their calendar, which also increases show ups, right? If you have a calendar reminder, and to join our wonderful WhatsApp group that we're going to talk about in a second, and which was key for getting such a high show up rates. We've also got another reminder here. We're congratulating them, providing them some more value, because keep in mind, if it's a completely cold traffic, and if you're not putting a pre-webinar, pre-registration VSL on the landing page, the thank you video will be the first video that your leads are going to see of you. So if they don't know you, this will be the first video, and you need to provide some value there, come across as a pretty chill guy. And as we had said over here, some more student proof. What's this masterclass is about, the 5-pillar system, what we're going to talk about, right? And so on and so on. Join the WhatsApp group, grab the 30 right products list, and so on and so on, right? Okay, cool. So this was basically the thank you video, the thank you page. You could also put on your FAQ videos or whatever here below. We didn't do it. Also here, by the way, a quick CTA to upgrade to the auto bump. This is basically it. Yeah. The next part is the WhatsApp nurturing sequence, and this was key probably to getting such a high show up rate. We had around 900 members in there. This was the member count. I just screenshotted today. So basically, a lot of members left after the webinar, and because we were squeezing the entire juice out of that WhatsApp group, right? So a lot of them left. That's why we got around 800 members in there. But during the actual webinar launch, I think it was at least 900, if not more, right? By the way, you can only have 1K members in the WhatsApp group. So the thing that we did, we put the lead magnet in the description of the WhatsApp group. So we weren't sending them the lead magnet instantly by mail, via mail after the webinar, after the registration, I mean. No, we were putting it in the description of the WhatsApp group to get even more leads to actually join our WhatsApp group and to be part of this entire nurturing process, which is key, right? A WhatsApp group gives this entire webinar a personal touch. And it's also a marketing asset. You can turn it to something like a free community where you're going to talk about later. For example, you can put in downsells or other offers or low ticket offers or whatever you're selling. It's a marketing asset of people who are generally already nurtured. So pretty valuable and sustainable stuff here. Well, what kind of messages did we put in the WhatsApp group? We put a lot of nurturing messages in there. For example, tomorrow we'll show you exactly the 5-pillar system. Another student went over there, student interview. long form interview, 17-hour course, for example, right? I think to pull an all nighter, a bit of humor, stuff like that, right? So we're putting in a lot of nurturing messages, a long form content, lots of polls, and these polls are key. What we're doing generally, recreating an MVP of our presentation, of the webinar presentation we're using. And then we're putting a lot of polls on the WhatsApp group. What's your biggest struggle right now? Where are you already at in your journey? How much do you got to invest? What are you doing right now? To find out exactly who are we actually talking to. And if you remember, we were talking about this awareness levels, and this is exactly what we're doing. So it could be that our market research was wrong, and that we get proven another the opposite direction in the WhatsApp group, and based on that we're designing the presentation. So if a lot of people struggle, for example, with what could it be, with suppliers, we're going to focus especially on suppliers to provide them even more value, right? And we want to make sure we really get who we're talking to. So polls are very good to get engagement, to make people just commit, and also to learn something about our audience. Yeah. Financial qualification, reminder videos. If you've got some, just record simply a 1 minute, 2 minute selfie video where you're talking about the masterclass, thanking for everyone, and making it feel special. Okay, then the next thing is a CTA to DM. So basically, what we generally have is pre and post webinar setting. So we have one setter or two setters or whatever, depends on the size, for our WhatsApp. That means we're asking people to DM us after and before the webinar, their personal struggles, what they're struggling with right now with this exact business model. And this way, we're already establishing a connection. We're filtering out the most committed leads, and we're going to set them later on a call. More to that on the follow-up sequence right now. Right, this will be a pretty long video, but you're going to learn a lot of stuff. This is like literally everything you use. You can just copy us. Okay. Well, and then we hammer in the links, as you can see, by the way, some polls that we used, right? Where they're at right now, more student wins. And then we're hammering in the link. This heavily increases the show up rate, sending the link like 4 times at the exact time, 5 minutes before, 15 minutes after, when we're getting into the real training section of the webinar, and so on. Well, we don't only had the WhatsApp group, which was key for a high show up rate. We also had direct messages. This is basically an automation, and you can set up in Go High Level, for example. It costs quite a bit, but just if you're, for example, spending 2K on this, if you get one high ticket sale, this already liquidates the spend. So it's worth the squeeze. Okay. So this were basically some direct messages that we used where we had a personal brand account, business account reaching out and emphasizing them to, this is my alias, Solomon. It's not Simon. Where we're getting them to show up, spamming in the link, stuff like that. And our sequence were 6 personal messages, one on the confirmation, 1 day out, 2 hours out, 15 minutes out, exact time, 15 minutes after. Same exact thing for SMS, nothing special. Really just reminder messages there, and also the confirmation and the 1 day out includes a CTA to join the WhatsApp group, right, for more nurturing. And then we also had our email reminder sequence. And before we're getting to the ads that we were running, the retargeting ads, let's first dive in here. I won't get too deep onto the copy right now. We basically had a confirmation sequence with a CTA to add the event to the calendar, to join the WhatsApp group, to save the webinar link, and so on. We had a lead magnet focused. The second email was then lead magnet focused with the CTA to join the WhatsApp group. As you already should know by now, that we have we generally put our lead magnet in the description of the WhatsApp group. Then we have a student win section. We have a personal story email. We have the 3 biggest mistakes and limiting beliefs and whatever. Oh, this went completely off, right? And so on. We have a future pacing email. This is basically picture your amazing new life If you actually, in our case, build a successful e-commerce brand, right? Then this was kind of a webinar pre-teaser. Also remember the subject lines are key for a good open rate. As you can see over there, we had, for example, 73% open rates, 60% open rates, and so on and so on. Am I still live? Yeah, I hope so. Well, also this click-through rate was just for the WhatsApp group button, so most of them were already in there, and yeah, that's why it wasn't that high. Morning of the masterclass, one day before, more objection handling, and then we've got the confirmation email. We're increasing the frequency of the emails towards the end. So the closer we're getting to the end, the more emails we're actually sending. And we're always including sales asset in the emails that are basically student interviews, long form videos, personal transformations. And if you want to take it to the next level, as Jordan Lee does it, for example, you can also include gamma boards in there. This is the exact structure that we're following. We're sending around 15 show up emails at least, right? And yeah, so much to the email side of things. And then, last but not least, let's get to Jeremy Haynes, to the hammer them ads that we were using. We're basically using a content ads retargeting strategy with pure nurture, objection handling, and reminder sequences that we're targeting all registrants of the masterclass. So examples could be common objection ad, right? You think this is basically, you don't even need to include a CTA there. This is just pure objection handling, right? We're just targeting people on Instagram, and they think we're literally everywhere to get them to show up. So this is objection handling. You think e-commerce is saturated? No, it's not. It's a $8 trillion industry or whatever. And then another thing, what was this about though? Yeah, this was a story, a student win of someone who built a $5 million brand as part of the community. Why are you selling a course? This is also a pretty important objection handling ad. So this is kind of the anti-guru positioning. Yeah, we're obviously selling a course to make money, but our course is pretty well. Just check out our Trustpilot, for example, right? And then we have another hammer them ad, what they will cover, and some introduction stuff, right? So ideally, you want to have, we didn't have this, by the way, but this is like what Jeremy Haynes is teaching. You want to have 5 long form content pieces you're retargeting the guys with, and 25 short form content pieces. We only had around 5 to 6, right? And after the 3 first seconds of the watch time, the user never sees the ad again and directly gets the next ad in the whole sequence. That way, you're testing a lot of angles and different objections that obviously appeal to different parts of your audience, right? And this not only, the whole nurturing, by the way, doesn't only increase our show up rate, it mainly also increases and boosts our close rate, because these leads are showing up warmed up for a webinar, right? And this is exactly what we want to achieve. Well, so much to the show up sequence. As you can see, we have like on literally all channels that we have retargeting these guys, providing them the most value that we can, and then making sure they show up for the heart, the most important thing of this entire process, the presentation. Because you can get like, I don't know, 1K attendees for your webinar. We had around 800 or 700, I think, right? Or 700, yeah. But if your presentation sucks, if there's no real value that you're transmitting, you won't get that many booked calls or closes or direct to cart checkouts or whatever you're actually selling. So let's get to the thing where my business partner and me are actually the most experts in, I would say, the presentation and what Jason Fladlian is teaching all the time. So how do you actually write a 250 slides webinar presentation, provide enough value, and kind of can keep the balance between providing value, not revealing too much, and still exciting the audience about your offer and positioning, right? Well, the first thing you need to know, again, know the awareness level of your audience. If you're targeting an in-market audience, but you're main webinar presentation only talks about beginners who want to start with the model, you're going to fail. Your webinar is destined to fail if you're not knowing who you're talking to, right? So you should find out first with, for example, polls on the WhatsApp group, with market research, with the sales calls that you have already for your offer, right? With the recordings, are you talking to a solution-aware or problem-aware audience, and to a cold or warm traffic? Because cold webinars are completely different from warm webinars in the whole messaging, right? And this is what we first of all focus on. We want to know who are we talking to. That's why we're doing all the polls in the WhatsApp group, for example. That's why we're doing all that AI documents and market research first, because we want to know who we're talking to. Well, and now we're getting to the whole presentation and the exact slides that we were actually using. This is the exact presentation we're using, by the way. And yeah, generally you have kind of a 9-step process for a pretty good performing webinar. Well, first of all comes the hook. The hook needs to capture the attention immediately, and we generally recommend a pattern interrupt. So, the people who attend your webinar probably already attended some webinars in the past. And you don't want to make this sound like any other webinar. This should be something special. Make it also continuous with your pre-webinar messaging. So if you are talking about, I don't know, like, let's say the 3 biggest opportunities why e-commerce is so crazy or whatever, your hook should contain this, right? And our hook was pretty strong. We had the go back in time hook. Have you ever wished you could go back in time? Bitcoin, when Shopify dropshipping was in the hype, Amazon FBA, blogging for SEO, creating an SEO agency. Well, we've got some good news for you, because this exact opportunity is the closest thing to a time machine that you're ever going to get. This is like finding out about Bitcoin in 2010 or about Tesla in 2018 on some fancy stock courses or stock graphs over there, right? And then we're borrowing authority from the biggest e-commerce opportunities that we also had. I think the founder of Neurogam also as a video injection in there, and some more statics. Like, more people are buying online every fucking year. Here are the graphs, and we're going to teach you exactly how to get a piece of the juicy pie. So our hook is we are selling them on the whole opportunity, on the industry, because we are talking to a rather unaware audience. And this is what we've learned through the product research, through the customer research, right? We first needed to sell them on the opportunity before we could sell them on the business model, right? And if you're rather targeting a warmer in-market audience, it will be the way around. Like, you mainly have to sell them on your exact product, right? On your solution, but not on the opportunity. They already sold on it, and our customers weren't. Now, that a lot of proof, massive opportunity, paradigm shifts, and most people that didn't even know that it exists. Wow, this is such a big thing. I should take action right now. Now, after we've hooked them and they think, damn, this sounds interesting, we're getting to the pain and relatability part. By the way, I'm just going to check if I'm still recording. Yes, we are. Let's go. Getting dark in here. Well, the pain and relatability part, let's switch the lights for this. Will basically be around. Oh man, I'm gonna cut this out. The pain and relatability part will be around our ICP's current situation. So we want to think, who are we actually talking to? As I already said earlier, what are the exact struggles they have in their lives? What do they think about when they sleep? What do they talk about with their families at the dinner? What do they talk about with their friends? What are the main objections they have, right? And then we want to make them feel understood. We want to acknowledge their struggles, and therefore an ICP document is extremely helpful. And as you say, generally in the webinar slang, we got to wake them up from the nightmare before we show them the dream. What we're actually using in our webinars is a lot of memes and humor, right? Not too exaggerated, but things that people can actually relate to. And a visual impression says so much more. Just look at this, for example. We're not saying telling them. We could also have said, "You're stressed about work. We understand this," but we're telling them we're not just scratching the surface. We're really getting to understand them exactly. Like we want to know what they're thinking about. We don't want to get into their fucking heads. Right? That's why we're saying you're hoping and praying for a 3% pay raise if you're lucky and still struggling with that. And then we have this picture which probably everyone can relate to. And our audience was in that exact situation. It were people who were around 25 to 35 years old. They were already in their corporate job and they were pissed about it. They just wanted to build something on the side, have some extra income. And that was the main thing that we were talking to, actually, right? Well, then we want to make them feel understood. We want to say, yeah, we know exactly how that feels like. We were in the same exact situation as you, right? So we're selling them on the whole, on our authority and on themselves. Next thing is objection handling. They thought A, but B is actually true, so they can really make it happen. We're breaking their limiting beliefs. We're using preemptive strikes, something like, right now you're probably thinking you can't make this because of XYZ. That's not true, because look at our student John. He also had XYZ, but he could make it happen in X days because of our XYZ system, right? Stuff like that. It also increases retention because people might think, oh, well, I can never make this happen, so I shouldn't watch the webinar. No, you can, because we're already crushing your objections at the beginning. So this is, for example, a time objection. Our members wanted just an additional income stream alongside their corporate job, right? You don't need to commit full time. So we're crushing the time objection over there. They can still make it, even though if they're working on 9 to 5. Then a New Year objection. You probably think you need to wait until New Year, but you shouldn't, because this is not the mindset how to make money. In New Year, there's Chinese New Year. The suppliers will already shut down all the doors or stuff like that, right? You need to wait another 4 months. You will be stuck and other people will have a head start. Stuff like that. Right? Then the guru objection, very important. Why are you actually selling a course? People have this ammunition in them, but we're taking them and preempting all of their ammunition, right? So we already saying them, yeah, we sell a course to make money, but obviously it also helps us we're enjoying helping others. We have hosted an event with our students. It's amazing to see how we help them changing their lives. And guys, if your info product is decent, I would also pay 10K to get Jeremy Haynes' course. Like, if the info product is decent, the guru objection is the perfect thing for you. If you're selling shit, you're probably just another guru or another scammer out there, right? Well, so the next thing is we're crushing some more objections. You don't need to be a marketing genius. Worry about saturation and so on and so on. Right? So basically, objection handling. Then we get to part number 4, future pacing. Once we've woken them up, we woke them up from the nightmare, we're going to show them the dream. And we will get very, very specific how their dream life would look like. So what is the main goal behind their actions? Is it status? Is it security? Is it self-actualization? Whatever. And with future pacing, exactly into what they're interested in. For example, our RCP wasn't interested in excessive lifestyle into Lambos. They didn't care about this stuff. They just wanted an extra income stream and provide for their families. And we knew this because we asked for this in the WhatsApp group, right? After we've done the future pacing, we're getting to excitement. So we're teasing them. By the end of the webinar, you will know exactly how to do X, Y, Z and how to live the life that you want. We're hyping them and increasing their retention. And a bonus here, a pretty bonus point, when you're already teasing parts of the offer. For example, by the end of the webinar, You will learn how to get access to my network of 1,200 founding experts and why it matters, because you have to skip all the guesswork about how to get business funding, for example. And you can also actually do something like a raffle or something like an other lead magnet. We had this for another webinar, not for this, but for another webinar we did for a client, where we designed another lead magnet that we sent to everyone who stayed until the end of the webinar, right? Just to increase retention. This is what excitement and teasing is for. And we also want to push the interaction. We want to get something like a yes letter, because many people, as I got also yesterday from a webinar that we were hosting live, they actually think that a webinar isn't live. Obviously, there are some evergreen webinars and some automated webinars, but many people think that the webinar isn't live, and we need to interact with the chat, call out names, make them feel heard, answer their questions, especially also at the end, right? And ask for feedback. That's why a webinar is so strong. So you should always interact with the chat. We have a lot of kind of injections there to interact with the chat. All right. Next up, before we get to the training, by the way, is the positioning part. So we are positioning ourselves in a unique selling position. For example, instead of muscle confusion, we are teaching, instead of the summer shred, we're teaching muscle confusion. So a unique mechanism, right? In our case, the unique mechanism was more the whole opportunity, the whole business model, the help of AI, of TikTok, right? This was more or less the unique selling position, and also the whole authority. You show your results, you show student results, and why you're different from all the other guys online. So show your most recent results, the best results, the last results, and the results you had 3 years ago, whatever. And people love Trustpilot. You can also show video injections. So, for example, in Webinar Jam, you can take like 10 to 15 seconds of a video, put it in there, and show the best sequences and the best kind of citations or quotes of your student interviews. Same thing with the business model, unique selling position. As I said, right, this is exactly what I was talking about just a second ago. And yeah, the ICP didn't fail because they're stupid. They failed because they were in the wrong vehicle. And we throwing rocks at those other business models. We're throwing rocks at traders, at arbitrage, at dropshipping, at whatever, right? And also the enduring positioning. If you can just be a fucking normal being, you have a massive head start in the whole info product space, right? You're showing your own results, making it as detailed as you can, show third-party reviews in the best way, revenue dashboards, and more transformations. All right, now the offer structure, yeah, also interesting point. Well, and now we're getting to the actual training. So how do we manage, my business partner and me, to design appealing trainings that we don't know a fuck about because we're not in that exact niche and not in that space? How can we actually teach valuable stuff? First of all, we're doing a lot of research, and I'm using Manus, by the way, to help me design like killer trainings, right? And actually valuable trainings. But a training doesn't only matter. It doesn't only matter how to implement the whole stuff. It also matters how you frame the exact training. So, for example, what we're always doing is we have 3 pillars. For this webinar, we had 5, but I always recommend 3 pillars. It makes the messaging so much easier and also makes the webinar a bit more concise. So try to reduce the most important pillars of your exact business model that you're teaching. Is it the niche? Is it the whatever, the supplier shortcut? Is it the marketing? Is it whatever it is, right? Try to make it concise and create 3 most pillars that someone who tries to do this business can't live without. Then, once you've got your pillars, you want to define what it is, why it matters, what happens without it, and why the fuck the customer should care. So what? Right. And then you want to get commitment from them. So first of all, what is it? Our first pillar was kind of, what was it? A system for finding products, yeah. What happens without it? Make it visual, right? It's like driving a Bentley. We were talking to a UK-based audience, so kind of selected Bentley there to make it a bit more relatable, right? It's kind of like having a Bentley with a rusty engine. You need to have it because you're not getting anywhere without it, right? Why does it matter? Because most people fail there. This is just another pillar, by the way. This is the supplier pillar there. Most people fail because they don't know how to find suppliers. They spend weeks, months with it. And if you want to avoid all this struggle and all this pain, listen to this fucking pillar, right? Then how to actually implement it, and you're getting commitment. Can you see how valuable having a winning product is? Can you see how valuable it is to get good suppliers, right? This is exactly how you want to structure the training part. Obviously, this is the biggest part of the webinar, and I don't want to get too deep into this right now because we're already at 1 hour recording, and I'm gonna do another video about how to. This is normally like 100 slides long, right? At least, and you can also inject live trainings there, what we always recommend. So we're going to design another video on how to write killer webinars. We're going to literally like step by step by step. This is just a small teaser, right? Then we're transitioning to the pitch. We're recapping everything that they learned. We're asking them if it was valuable for them. You want to get the yes letter. And then we go hard on reciprocity. Like, oh, you learned all that stuff from today. Was it valuable today? Was it cool? What would be the first things you would do? Some future pacing, right? And then we're giving them the crossroad option. So you could rather do that completely alone, which is definitely possible. You will just spend 10K on the wrong products, on the wrong suppliers, or whatever, right? Or you could skip all the guesswork and do it with us. Do we have your permission to talk about this offer right now we've prepared for you? Give us a yes in the chat. Then you see a lot of yeses, and you're transitioning to the actual pitch. And here I've removed the slides because this is kind of like personal stuff there, and I don't want to reveal the entire offer structure. But basically, Alex Hormozi, got a book over there, has written an entire book on how to structure killer infoproduct offers. So you've probably already written this. You probably already read this book if you're watching this video. So this isn't something surprising here. We're listing every component that you have, structuring them step by step by step. We are not only naming the feature, but we are naming why it actually matters. What are the benefits? Why should I care about your business founder network? Why should I care about your one-on-one coaching? What do I actually get from this, right? Why should they care? And student proof is not negotiable. You always need to inject student proof in the entire presentation. We're doing future pacing. How would their ideal day look like if they had this offer, right? What could they do? How was their reality? And our students have this, and this is why they live such a good life, for example, right? Then we're doing price entering, what other people charge for this, what we normally charge for this, what we charge for this today. We don't drop the exact price normally because we have quite a lot of different offer tiers that we're selling, right? But we're still qualifying them. So we normally say something like, if you've got around 4K to invest, then apply right now. Then we have a guarantee, we have risk reversal, and then we start with the first pitch. Right, this is the first pitch. Click the link that you see on your screen right now and apply for the offer if it's a book to call webinar, right? We're transitioning then to a discount that only applies for the first 10 spots, for example. So you're applying urgency and scarcity for this, and then transitioning to 3-4 free bonuses that they get. They can normally be part of your offer, but try to kind of frame them as bonuses because people like this. It's another thing of reciprocity. We're stacking them on there. You can eventually also apply urgency to these bonuses. If it's a done for you a bonus, maybe done for you niche selection, you're only doing this for the first 5 people who actually get the offer, right? You're applying some real urgency there, like limited spots, because it's a hands-on coaching program. We can only take on a couple members, right? And then again, the guarantee, and you're pitching the second time. You're transitioning to the Q&A with some objection handling, recap everything what they get, the whole offer, and you do the third pitch. That should be enough, right? Now, offer research and a good offer architecture is key for selling info products. So, before you actually start the entire webinar or even the first email that you write, you should think about, do you have a downsell? Do you have a done do it yourself, done with you, or done for you offer? What do you normally charge? What would make the most sense to design your price structure? And based on that, should you do a direct to card or book call webinar with all its shadow and sun sides that it has, right? If your offer costs more than 2K, you should always normally go to book a call, because sales calls are just so efficient to sell high ticket. That's why we always want to charge high. Even if you feel uncomfortable, people are more committed if they're paying a lot of money for an offer, and based on that also see better results. What bonuses would crush their objections? This is also a bonus point. Try to develop bonuses that are objection crushers. For example, people are still kind of anxious about finding the right suppliers in e-commerce. Well, then we're giving you already a network of 50 vetted suppliers for free. Objection crusher, right? And then we're pitching them. The webinar is done more or less, and we're sending them to our Typeform, which is basically an application where you're thanking them for showing interest. We're collecting their names, and we're financially qualifying them. So how much do they have to invest? If they have less than 2K to invest, for example, they are sent to our DQ page, and we normally want to have setters reach out there and find out if that's actually true or if they lied, because people can lie, right? And they're dieting like the DQ list. We also have this synced with our CRM, smart views in our CRM, and normally we're using Close for this, and we have a Slack channel where they can find all the applications. Then we also have the option that they qualified. They have, for example, 10K to invest, right? But they didn't book a call for whatever reason on God's green earth, right? Then this is the first priority for the setters. They should reach out to these guys who didn't book a call and try to book them in. And we also add these people. This is like we have kind of an automation go high level. If they've qualified but didn't book a call in the next 1 hour or something like that, we're adding them to a automation with email, SMS, WhatsApp reminder sequences, and trying to get them to book a call. Yeah. And then there's also obviously the option that they book a call. This is exactly what we want and what we've did with this wonderful, wonderful webinar to make that much money with it, right? And then once they've booked a call, we only let them schedule calls, by the way, 3 days in advance, because otherwise they will just get too cold. The setters are reaching out for pre-call framing and qualification. So it could be if you have like not that many spaces available and you've got a lot of interested leads, your setters could reach out and really dial up those people, and based on that find out and maybe like reschedule a call, schedule it for a later date to mainly target the leads that are fully committed and fully qualified. The closers should send selfie videos and manually reach out to establish contact with those to increase the show up rate, right? We have a Slack channel where we're documenting all this, CRM sync, show up sequence for the call with email, SMS, WhatsApp reminders. No, I don't think we have WhatsApp reminders. Oh, we have, yeah. Also for this, right? And also another confirmation page with breakout videos, because now that we've sold the call, we need to sell the show up on the call, right? This is basically the entire way how we're going from presentation to booked calls. Now, last but not least, if you're still watching, congratulations, because you're getting to phase number 4, where we can actually make 10 to 20% more revenue off our entire webinar with a follow-up sequence. This is where we actually see most people fail because they don't have a follow up sequence in place. And most people just need a bit more. They just need the final push to get them to book the call or buy our offer. And the juice is worth the squeeze with a follow up, right? Now, here's the exact follow up system that we have. We have a 3 days of replay promo. So a special offer, a discount, and bonuses that are only available for 3 days. And we promote it, first of all, with the replay page, obviously, where we put on the replay, which is live for 3 days. And this also becomes a sales asset. So you can use this like in 2 years or whatever, and just upload it on YouTube or whatever, or use it in your other email sequences. So it becomes a sustainable sales asset. CTA here below with the Calendly or Typeform or whatever you're using, right? Then, also in the WhatsApp group, we have a post-webinar sequence. So we are thanking those who showed up. The replay is still available. Get it now. Also, if you've got value and want to accelerate your journey, and the bonuses are still available for 3 days, book now, right? Creating urgency. And then we're hammering those guys with student proof, student proof, student proof, student proof, student proof, book again. And we're also asking them to DM us basically, because we have a post webinar setter on our WhatsApp group who's reaching out to everyone. So we're saying something like, today is an exclusive day. Our DMs are open for 1 day. DM us all the struggles, all the questions you have about the masterclass, and then our setter will answer this and try to book them in, because our program solves all your struggles, right? Some more long form video content and so on. Basically, yeah, the setter, financial qualification, books and calls, and you want to have the same exact thing on Instagram. And also, ideally, you want to have a post webinar story sequence. We didn't have it for this one because their Instagram wasn't that big, but if you have a client with a big Instagram, or you yourself are the client, you should do that. Now, then we also have 3 days of webinar promo with the main email sequence, right? So we're sending to 3 different parts who are on a different awareness level regarding the masterclass. First of all, there's the main list, where we have attendees and people who registered and people who didn't register at all, right? So we want to mainly focus for the main list emails on providing value with the replay. We want to mainly push them to actually watch the replay and not to apply in the first place, and emphasize the cost of inaction. We want to frame the webinar as a free 2-hour training, because remember, these are your main list. You still want to use this as a pretty strong asset, also for future promo. So don't go too hard on urgency here, because this will kill your future webinar registration rates, right? And in the third email, we're actually revealing the exact link, and something like bonuses are up to expire, replays expiring today, book it now. Then we have the attendee sequence, where we're focusing mainly on the offer, because those people already have the knowledge about our offer. They're already product aware. And we're pitching them the offer again with the exclusive bonuses, 1 email about the replay. We go hard on the urgency, and we focus on selling the application rather than the replay. Then for no-shows, we're focusing again on the replay, because obviously they didn't see the masterclass, and reframing the replay as something like a gift, what we normally didn't want to do, to establish more reciprocity in them. Again, a human bias, give them a second chance, and emphasize the cost of inaction. Give them the crossroad option of people who attended the masterclass and who are already seeing results right now. Then again, book a call sequence for the Facebook ads. So basically, we're retargeting our leads again. You can basically just do this by uploading a CSV file on your ads manager for an audience, right? And retarget those guys, those exact leads in the CSV file. So these are the people who in your CRM have attended the masterclass but didn't book a call. And you're going to retarget those guys with objection handling, relatability ads, cost of inaction, risk reversal, student proof, and try to get them in to book a call, right? Retargeting content ads. So for example, I would advise the old me, the old version of me 7 years ago before I started this business model to take action right now? What are the costs of not taking action? You will be stuck in the same exact situation. Make the pain of inaction bigger than the pain of action, which is paying money, right? And again, objection crusher, why they should take action right now. And last but not least, we also got the manual follow-ups. You want to make sure you have a sales manager, your sales team is completely dialed in, you have the Slack channels, you have everything set up in your CRM. And yeah, obviously the setters should first of all try to book in the qualified leads. You didn't book a call, want to have a DM set on WhatsApp, on Instagram, smart use in your CRM for application and book calls. You want to dial the DQ leads who have lied about their income maybe, and follow up with attendees in general. And then also you want to have a follow up for the booked calls. So for example, if someone, you want to have first of all booked call presetting, as we already said. And if someone has canceled or rescheduled a call, you want to follow up there again. Get your set closest to manually reach out, send selfie videos, follow up with no shows, right? And try to schedule follow up calls if they didn't close in the first one. And this is basically the entire retargeting and follow up sequence that we're generally using for our webinars. And this is the exact four phases. These are the exact four phases how we've generated 135K for our clients with only one webinar. And we're doing this for all of our webinars a pretty similar way. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff that I couldn't include in this video because it's so fucking long, right? And this video alone is so nearly has the length of a webinar right now, right? But if you're serious about running a webinar for your clients or for yourself right now, and you want to do it the exact right way and use our templates or SOPs, or have us come in there and do the whole thing for you, so you just gotta care about a 90-minute presentation and we do the entire rest, then feel free to reach out to us. DM me on Instagram. I'm going to put the link in the description below. Also, if you want to learn more about the exact way we're designing our AI templates, how we manage our sales team, how we're actually writing the training part of the presentation, the exact copy we're using as templates for our show up sequences, for our launch, for our ads, how we're designing static ads, right? Feel free to reach out. We have SOPs on everything, right? And if you want to have us come into your house and literally take over the entire webinar campaign and make you a lot of money based on the same system how we did it for this guys in the e-commerce niche, and also in a lot of other niches that we're running webinars in right now, let me know. DM me on Instagram. I'm out right now. It's already getting dark here. Do something productive today and let's completely crush it. Let's make some money.